Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum friends. Today we are going to discuss about overloading and overwriting. The outline of the topic include overview of overloading, definition and explanation, types of overloading, operator overloading, definition and also explanation, then overloadable operators and non-overloadable operators, operator overloading examples. Useful information about overloading operators and function overloading. Advantages and disadvantages of function overloading. First of all, let's have an overview of overloading. Overloading occurs when the same operator or function name is used with different signatures. Both operators and functions can be overloaded. Here is a definition of overloading. C++ allows you to specify more than one definition for a function name or an operator in the same scope, which is called function overloading and operator overloading respectively. Here's an explanation. An overloaded declaration is a declaration that is declared with the same name as a previously declared declaration in the same scope, except that both declarations have different arguments and obviously different definition. When you call an overloaded function or operator, the compiler determines the most appropriate definition to use. By comparing the argument types you have used to call the function or operator with the parameter types specified in the definitions. The process of selecting the more appropriate overloaded function or operator is called overload resolution. Here are types of overloading. There are two types for overloading: function overloading and operator overloading. Then operator overloading. In computer programming, operator overloading, sometimes termed operator at HOC polymorphism, is a specific case of polymorphism where different operators have different implementations depending on their arguments. Operator overloading is generally defined by a programming language, a programmer, or both. Overloaded operators are functions with special names. The keyword operator, followed by the symbol for the operator being defined. Like any other function, an overloaded operator has a return type and a parameter list. Overloadable and non-overloadable operators. Following is the list of operators which can be overloaded. Following is the list of operators which cannot be overloaded. Operator overloading example. Here are various operator overloading examples to help you. Some information about overloading operator. Similar to function overloading, resolved by signature, best match is used, but the list of operators and the arity of each is fixed. Can't invent operators like steric for exponentiation. Class A, then private, then O-stream and operator. Some information about overloading operators. Must use same number of arguments as for built-in types except for operator. Some operators are off limits: scope, conditional, member difference, member or size of, typed, RTTI. Function overloading. Function overloading in C++ can be defined as the process of having two or more member functions of a class with the same name but different in parameters. In function overloading, the function can be redefined either by using different types of arguments or a different number of arguments according to the requirement. It is only through these Difference is compiler can differentiate between the two overloaded functions. C++ allows specification of more than one function of the same name in the same scope. These functions are called overloaded functions. In some programming languages, function overloading or method overloading is the ability to create multiple functions of the same name with different implementations. Overloaded functions enable you to supply different semantic for a function depending on the types and number of arguments. We use function overloading to save the memory space, consistency, and readability of our program. Function overloading shows the behavior of polymorphism that allow us to get different behavior, although there will be some link using the same name of the function. Some advantages of function overloading. One of the major advantages of function overloading is that it increases the readability of the program because we don't need to use different names for the same action again and again. We use function overloading to save the memory space, consistency, and readability of our program. Within the use function overloading concept, we can develop more than one function with the same name. Function overloading shows the behavior of polymorphism that allows us to get different behavior, although there will be some link using the same name of the function. Some advantages of function overloading. Function overloading speeds up the execution of the program. Function overloading is used for code reusability and also to save memory. It helps application to load the class method based on the type of parameter. Code maintenance is easy. Some disadvantages of function overloading. Function declarations that differ only by its return type cannot be overloaded with function overloading process. Member function declaration with the same parameters or the same name types cannot be overloaded if any one of them is declared as a static member function. Overriding. If derived class defines same function as defined in the base class, it is known as function overriding in C++. It is used to achieve runtime polymorphism. It enables you to provide specific implementation of the function which is already provided by its base class. Overriding. Function overriding is a feature that allows us to have a same function in child class which is already present in the parent class. A child class inherits the data member and member functions of parent class. But when you want to override a functionality in the child class, then you can use function overriding. How overriding occurs in C++. Overriding of functions occurs when one class is inherited from another class. Overloading can occur without inheritance. Behavior of functions. Overriding is needed when derived class function has to do some added or different job than the base class functions. How do you override in C++? Access overridden function in C++. To access the overridden function of the base class, we use the scope resolution operator. We can also access the overridden function by using a pointer of the base class to point to an object of the derived class and then calling the function from that pointer. How to call overridden function from the child class? As we have seen above that when we make the call to function involved in overwriting, the child class function gets called. What if you want to call the overridden function by using the object of child class? You can do that by creating the child class object in such a way that the reference of the parent class points to it. Let's take an example to understand it. IOStream using namespace std class base class. Then public class derived class public. Just take a look. Some advantages of overriding. The one main advantage of these overriding and overloading is time saving. Space, save memory space. The readability of the code is increased. Flexibility and maintainability of code become easier. In the case of overriding, the child class can have functions of parent class and can even have its own implementation of that function. The object can be referenced and the function of both the parent class and the child class can be accessed by the class. We have now clearly understood the concept of both overloading and overriding. In overloading, we have to make sure the difference is the overloaded functions exist either based on return type or the parameters, though the function definition inside them is the same or different. And in the case of overriding, since it is an object oriented programming concept, we can only utilize in the form of classes using the functionality of inheritance. Function overloading versus function overriding. Inheritance. Overriding of functions occur when one class is inherited from another class. Overloading can occur without inheritance. Got it? Function signature. Overloaded functions must differ in function signature, that is, either number of parameters or type of parameters should differ. In overriding, function signatures must be same. Scope of functions. Overridden functions are in different scopes, whereas overloaded functions are in same scope. Behavior of functions. Overriding is needed when derived class function has to do some added or different job than the base class function. And overloading is used to have some name functions which behave differently depending upon parameters passed to them. Okay, friends, this is it for now. Thank you for watching this lecture and also write what you have learned from this lecture in the comment box. Thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.